I've just started the recording of the webinar. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm very happy that you're here. We're very excited about our first webinar of 2023, and it's with our valued educational agency partners from all around the world. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll get started now. So to introduce ourselves, my name is Melissa Abace. I'm the Director of International Student Recruitment at Koç University in Istanbul, Turkey. And I'm very lucky to have a great team. Two of our team members are here with us today, and I will ask them to very briefly open their cameras and their microphones and introduce themselves. Ahmed?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Ahmed. My specialty is the MENA region. I believe most of you are in touch with me. Of course, if you have any queries, or any questions about our admission processes or online application, you can always connect your students to me directly. And thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. And Arina, our newest team member.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arina. I am responsible for the recruitment of students from mostly CIS countries. So if you have any questions later on after webinar during the year about application requirements, any kind of information regarding the fall 2023 upcoming intake, you're always welcome to contact me. Thank you again for attending this webinar today.
Thank you very much, Arina. So now we want to know a little bit about you in a very short time, because we have a very diverse group of participants registered for today's webinar. So I'm going to launch a very, very quick poll. I have just launched it, so you should be able to see it on your screens. If you're joining us from a mobile phone, I'm not sure if it's going to be easy to use or not. Let me know after the webinar, but it's just to get a sense of, what are your students interested in studying, what topics you're interested to know more about today. And in that way, we can spend more or less time based on your answers. So if you can kindly start voting, that would be great. You should be able to see the poll on your screens as a pop-up. And I see, yes, some people have started to vote. Thank you so much. So we'll have like 40 seconds more to vote. And then I'll share the poll results and we can then move forward. Okay, votes are coming in. Just want to see if we can get to half of our attendees today so that we have, a representative sample. We're almost one vote away. Whoever is holding on, go ahead and vote. All right, I think that's enough time. We have about, 10 of you have already voted, so that's great. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So you should now be able to see on the screen the results. I'm going to expand this a bit. So we can see there is a very kind of even split between the type of disciplines that your students are interested in, but we do see a higher percentage of interest in administrative sciences, specifically business, economics, international relations. So I'll make sure that I give you a few more details about this, but of course, as always, engineering, social sciences, and basic sciences are important. And we see 70% of you would like to know about high school transcripts. Yes, we will talk about this, how to submit reference letters, another important topic, and the minimum test scores and English proficiency scores. And of course, the very important topic of scholarships, we will be providing a lot of details about this. So, it's a good thing that we are aligned on that topic. And there's also interest in the pre-arrival and settling process. So yes, we will also give information because we do have a lot of resources already available on our university websites in different places. So it's just to guide you in a better way about where to find them. Now, one thing that I was curious about our participants was whether you have been to Turkey before, and I can see that it's quite an even split. So half of you have, half of you haven't. So I will give a very brief introduction about Turkey as a destination for international students. And most of you, 90% of you, have never visited Koç University before. We need to make sure that we fix that either this year or next year, and that you do get a chance to visit our campus in 2023 or in the future, or that your students and families can come and also visit us. We also had a question because there are two big sort of higher education events happening in Istanbul this year. One of them is the ISEF EuroAsia event in March, and then the EuroAsia Agent Workshop in November. So we were wondering how many of you are planning to attend. We see some of you are, the other half of you are not sure yet. So what I wanted to basically say here is that if you are planning on attending, please feel free to reach out to us so that we can, again, invite you to visit our campus and see this wonderful university. So I'm going to stop sharing now the screen with the poll and continue our presentation. Right, so for those of you who have never been to Turkey, have very little information about Turkey as a study destination, we wanted to summarize here what are the main reasons why hundreds of thousands of students from every continent around, every continent in the world have chosen to study in Turkey. First of all, it's aligned with the Bologna system that operates in Europe. So that provides a lot of advantages in terms of diploma recognition, mobility during studies to do study abroad programs, and for post-graduation opportunities to continue on to master or PhD programs in the case of undergraduate students. There are many universities in Turkey that offer English as the medium of teaching, and there's others who also offer other languages, but this has been a clear advantage to attract international students. One of the key advantages, of course, is that it's a more affordable destination, both in terms of cost of living and tuition fees, than the more traditional, well-known destinations in Europe, in the US, Canada, Australia, and even China. I will give a few more details about this in the next slide with some caveats that I want you to keep in mind. It's also a relatively easier process in terms of entry to the country as a student when it comes to applying for a student visa, and the fact that there are several countries that can enter Turkey without a visa or with a very simple e-visa process. So this has been, again, a big benefit to students from neighboring regions like Middle East, North Africa in some cases, and the CIS countries. There's also a very large and now well-known scholarship program run by the Turkish government called Türkiye Bursları, or Turkish scholarships. We are one of the universities where students can benefit from this scholarship, and we can provide further details. There's an explanation of all of this on our website, of course, but this is how a lot of those students, international students who are in Turkey, have come to study at our universities. It offers a very multicultural life because, again, it's a meeting place between, the cliche is always to talk about the East and the West, Europe and Asia, but it is absolutely true. You can find people here from every country, and there's communities for everyone in terms of nationalities, religions, interests, sports, everything. So it offers a very rich, social and cultural environment for international students. And for me, this is the most important part. It's a very hospitable place. Turkish people are, very warm towards international people, or let's say students in particular. There has been some tensions in the last few years that we are kind of concerned, a bit worried about, but in the majority, it's still a very warm and, welcoming place for young people from other countries. When I talked about affordability, this is something that we have been recently working on. So it's not a finished product, let's say. It's still a work in progress because we have to be adjusting the amounts in dollars according to what the Turkish lira is doing in the markets. So roughly speaking, these are the costs that your students should expect to budget for if they come to live in Istanbul as a student. Of course, as everywhere, the highest costs are for accommodation. The figures that we're showing here of $500 to $700 per month are based on them staying on campus dormitories in shared rooms. Of course, those amounts can vary a lot in terms of staying in off-campus housing. We have a specific guide to help students who do not wish or are not able to stay in our student dormitories, to help them find what are the regions, what are the places, what are the websites, the Facebook groups that they can check to find off-campus accommodation. And in general, even if you don't have, sort of students in mind who would like to apply for Koç University this year, but in Turkey in general, I really recommend you to check our International Community Office website that it's shown here at the bottom. Their resources page, it really is a treasure trove of very useful information about, as I said, housing, how to open a bank account, how to apply for a residence permit, how to register a phone, like very practical things, as well as bigger things about being here as an international student. In terms of education costs at Koç University, we will talk about this in more detail later, but basically within the context of universities in Turkey, we have one of the highest tuition fees in the country because of the quality of education that we're offering, of course. So, however, that becomes much more affordable when students are awarded merit scholarships, which have a duration of the program of study. So someone who is awarded, for example, a 50% merit scholarship is for the 4 years of an undergraduate program. And this then becomes a very attractive proposition for many students. And this is why, we're very happy that you're here and that you continue your partnerships with Koç University to attract, excellent students academically who can be awarded this type of scholarships. Here we just put a couple of, some external websites or resources that you can also find useful when trying to understand what are the key advantages about studying in Turkey, costs of living, and specifically about Istanbul. So I hope you will find them useful. We will also, of course, share this webinar recording with you after today and the presentation upon request. Now, this is something that we use when we are talking to families or students, because this is typically the first thing maybe not in every country, but in several countries when it comes to mind when we mention that we are a university in Turkey, like Turkish television programs, especially, soap operas have become extremely successful. I want to especially mention that Leyla Tanlar, who is shown here, is one of our alumni. She was a double major in archaeology and media and visual arts that graduated cum laude. We're very proud of her. And so this is what typically comes to mind when people think about Turkey. And of course, history and tourism and beaches and very nice places, food, but it is, Istanbul specifically, which is where we are located, is a very big multicultural metropolitan complex city. So there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that we call the city that we're in. And I think it takes a first visit for families and students, prospective students, to really understand what it's like to live here and study here, given that it's 17 million people, it's across 2 continents. There's a lot of like service sector and industrial activity, as well as tourism, as well as health operations. So there's a lot of opportunities as well, and it may not be for everyone. So this is why it's important. We always recommend, if possible, to take a chance and visit Istanbul before you decide to study here. I mentioned this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail again, that the entry to Turkey options are different according to the citizenship of the student, but in general terms, it's an easier process than for other more traditional destinations. What is less easy, though, I have to say, is the opportunity to work as an international student, especially if you're an undergrad student, during your studies, in comparison with other destinations like Canada or the US or even the UK. So the reason is that for non-academic employment, that students may think I can get a part-time job in retail or in the service sector or something like that, the employer needs to obtain a work permit for the student. So this becomes a barrier or a deterrent for companies to really hire international students. What our students have done in our experience is that some of them can do internships, but most of them are unpaid, or they're working remotely with companies in their own countries. And in that way, they can sort of complement the income that they receive for their monthly expenses, but it shouldn't be counted as a way of covering living costs while you're studying in Turkey, and especially at Koç University. So now I'm going to talk a bit for those of you who are or maybe a bit less familiar with our university. It's just a very quick overview. We are at our core a research-intensive interdisciplinary university, and this permeates into this goes into everything that we do. We are now reached about 7,000 undergrad students, so this is the largest part of our student body, and we're very proud that also in 2022 we reached a 10% ratio of our students being international. This has taken about 5 or 6 years, and we're very, very proud of it. And we're already seeing the effect, the positive effects that this has on our community in terms of teaching, learning, and social activities. Those international students are coming from 80 different countries, and we now also have a page on our international admissions website where you can see more details about those international students in terms of which countries they're from, in which colleges they're studying, gender. So we've put together a lot of data to help you also inform students about what it's like to be an international student here. Now, what the most important part of this mix as a university is our faculty members, and I will show in the next slide a bit more information about them. But what we try to always keep is a very kind of boutique, hands-on, personalized education experience for students. So this is why our student staff ratio is very low. It's 13.8. In some programs, that's even lower. So that means that's quality of education in terms of the training and the background of the faculty members and the classroom sizes that we're offering to students. We are organized under 7 colleges, and I will show a bit later the programs that we offer at the undergraduate level. And our medium of education is in English, with the exception of 3 programs, and I'll explain those when it comes to that. As a research-intensive university, of course, then we invest a lot of resources in terms of having the most up-to-date, world-class research infrastructure and support services for our faculty members, our graduate students, and of course, giving the opportunity to undergrads to start to experiment and become acquainted with research activities, techniques, tools, and that world, essentially. Now, another thing that we always like to mention is the fact that 70% of international admitted students receive merit scholarship support. These are the stats for the most recent incoming class in fall 2022. We, of course, will always want to increase that percentage so that we're attracting the best and the brightest from each country. And then, this is something that we are partnering with different organizations to increase, whether to do co-funded scholarships from government organizations or foundations. And this is work that we will continue to do in the next few years. Now, going forward, I was talking about our academic staff, our professors. So this is a rough breakdown of where did these professors obtain or receive most of their training in terms of their PhD degrees. Of course, there's a bigger kind of list of universities for where they obtain their master's degree, but the main point is that at Koç University, all of our faculty members have a PhD degree, and most of them have received them from either the World Top 100 universities or Ivy League, Oxbridge, Group of 8 type institutions. And they bring that style of teaching, supervision, and research skills to the way that they are teaching in our classrooms. 9% of our academic staff are international, which I know it's lower compared to other universities in most established destinations. However, most of our professors are Turkish, but trained outside of Turkey. It's the way to understand this statistic. Rankings, we know that it's important for some parents to basically have an idea, and even students to have an idea of how to choose which university to apply to or consider in their research process for options for universities. So in that sense, we're also doing very well. We are now in the top 500 universities worldwide, according to the Times Higher Education World University Rankings, and also in the top 100 for young university rankings, because we are a young university. This year, we're going to be turning 30 years old. So we are now kind of young adult, I would say, or an adult university. We're leaving the young kind of territory slowly. And in terms of QS World University Rankings, we are also ranked first in Turkey and in the top 500 universities worldwide. There are, of course, different rankings for different things, but these are two metrics that we thought we could, like remind you about in terms of the university when you want to talk to parents and students about us. Our campus, of course, it's a huge, big kind of draw for all students, both Turkish and international, because it is located in a very green, peaceful, noiseless area of Istanbul on the European side, very close to the Black Sea. So we can see the Bosphorus from our clock tower that you see on the screen. And of course, we provide all of the facilities that you would expect from a residential campus. So the things that students need for their daily needs are met within campus or can be through delivery, especially when it comes to food and food choices. Nowadays, of course, it's very easy to order food online and have it brought if you're into Chinese or Indian or whatever that you want to have. If it's not on campus, you can have it delivered on campus. And of course, dormitories, we know it's a big kind of question or concern for parents when they're sending their children abroad. We do offer dormitories inside of our campus. We have 2 dormitory areas, one right in the main campus and another one just about 7 minutes by shuttle to the main campus. We offer, as I said, single and shared rooms of different types in single gender buildings. The dormitory fees are paid in one installment, so it's not per semester, but they're paid all at once at the beginning of the academic year in September. You can see more information about the dormitories on the website that it's shown there, but the main thing that I wanted to talk about today, because especially for those of you who have been partnering with us for some time, is last year it was a bit of a crisis point for us in terms of dormitories. I know it's a similar situation in different countries as well, but we basically had a very steep increase in demand from both the domestic Turkish students as well as international students. And we had never been in that situation of having to increase capacity. So now construction work has started to increase capacity. All of that will be finished. There's a part that will be finished hopefully by September next year, and then the rest will be finished in 2024. But the good news is that for 2024, we have agreed with our dormitory management that there will be a specific quota for first-year international undergraduate students. So I will explain how this will work when we come to that, but it means that there should be less anxiety or panic about missing the application deadline for dorms. One thing though is that, of course, we see that there is a lot of demand for single rooms because it's the first time people are living home. It's a different country. We completely understand that, but single rooms are the type of room that we have the smallest amounts of places. So the compromise has been that we do have a quota for our new international undergrad students, but for single rooms, they will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis and only assigned in terms of medical reasons where the student can only stay in a single room, okay? So we will be sending more information to you about this in the coming months to inform the students. But I'll very briefly pass through this. This is just a reminder of how beautiful our city is here. And as I said, we're on the European side of Istanbul. Even though we're surrounded by a forest, the first time you come here, it feels that it's very far. However, we are 20 minutes away from a metro station, which is the one that you see pointed here in red, right at the top, in the top kind of corner of the screen. And through that metro line, you can then reach the city center like Taksim, which you may or may have never visited, in about 20 minutes. Now, talking about our academic structure, you can see here the list of undergraduate programs that we offer. We offer a total of 22 undergraduate programs. Out of those 22, there's only 3 where there is a Turkish language requirement, and I'll explain how. The School of Law or law program or LLB program is mainly taught in Turkish. So this is why it's a program that is not really suitable for international students unless they already have Turkish proficiency. Then our School of Medicine and our School of Nursing, because the program involves clinical courses in which they have to interact with patients at the Koç University Hospital, then they are required to learn Turkish at specific points in that program. They do not need to already know Turkish when they are applying for admission, but they should be aware that they will need to work hard to really learn fairly quickly Turkish, so that, for example, in the case of medicine and nursing, that they can show a B1 level of proficiency by the end of year 1. And then in the case of medicine, a level of C1 proficiency by the start of year 4, which is the first clinical year. We have more information about this, of course, on our website, but I think it's important to raise awareness of it amongst you and amongst potential students, especially for medicine, as we know this is also one of the most in-demand programs from your students. So just very briefly, here we have some information about what is it like the first year at Koç University as an undergrad student, right? One of the main things is that we pair them with an international student body who is a current international student who has volunteered to basically help the new students in the adaptation process of the first semester and then during the first year. They also will have an academic advisor to help with some kind of class scheduling issues or class assignment issues. And there's a whole program of orientation courses and seminars called UNIP 101. As part of the first year, they also take a course that all of our international students really love, and they always give very good feedback about this, which is the academic and life skills course. And it's a place where they all meet together, meet with Turkish students as well. And it really gives them the tools to face the new responsibilities that they will have as university students in terms of stress management, managing their time, dealing with conflict, working in teams, and all of these very kind of important soft skills and also learning skills that they need to have. They will, we as a university, we offer a liberal arts approach to education. So that means that even though students are admitted into a specific major, like for example, mechanical engineering, they still need to take courses from 7 different knowledge areas under our core program in their first year. So that by the end, they are well-rounded individuals that have an awareness and an understanding of areas of knowledge different than their own specific ones. There's also a lot of student clubs, sports teams, and fitness group classes that we offer at the university. And our Career Development Center starts working or offering the opportunity to work with undergrad students from the first year to start mapping out what is it that they want to do at the end of those 4 years. And to get there, what do they need to do before that, during the summers, during the winters, during the semesters, and all of the support that they can provide. For students who may have some weaknesses in their high school foundations in specific areas, for example, maths or other areas, then we have the Office of Learning and Teaching, where there's course tutoring sessions that are done by our own students who have successfully completed specific courses. So this is a free resource for everyone that also is very valued by all of our students. And again, for those students who want to study Turkish, or because of their program like medicine or nursing need to start learning Turkish, then there is opportunities to do that through courses that they take as electives during their first semesters. One thing that Koç University offers that is not available at all other Turkish universities is we have a dedicated team of 3 people, which is our International Community Services Office. And they are basically there from day one, from the moment that the student gets their admission offer. they will be in touch in case they need a visa support letter, for example. Once they're here, they will be the people that they're in touch with about the orientation program, getting their international buddy assigned, applying for the student residence permit, providing support in terms of housing. No, they're not going to find the house for the student, but they provide resources like that, the ones that I showed you in previous slides. So yes, here's a summary of the type of support that that office gives to students, and also very importantly, a lot of social integration activities that they do so that our international students feel like that transition from high school to university and from a different country and different language is not as hard. Of course, there always will be some culture shock that they all have to go through, but that team is there to make that transition a bit smoother. This is just a very quick overview of our sports teams and facilities. Right now we have our ice skating ring open because we're in the winter, and our team keeps saying that we are going to use that one day, and we still have not used that. So it's a very kind of fun campus where you have everything you need. The core program, I just wanted to show you very briefly what are the different knowledge areas that the students are kind of offered. And this is just a sample of the type of courses that are included in that core program that they can choose from. Some courses are mandatory, and some of them the students decide which ones they want to take. One of those core program required courses is calculus, and this is why, I will explain later, this is why a student's high school performance grades in mathematics is so important for our college admissions committees, because regardless of what major they will be in, whether it's in engineering or business or humanities or social sciences, they all will need to take some type of maths related course in their first year, and some life sciences, whether that's physics or versions of that. So this is, or in quantitative reasoning. So this is why it's an important part of the evaluation program. We also offer a lot of track programs. So for example, if you have students that may ask, they say, I want to study mechatronics, or I want to study marketing. So we may not have a degree, a 4-year degree in marketing or in mechatronics, but we do have track programs, meaning that they can enroll, for example, in mechanical engineering and then choose one of these tracks and specialize in that area, meaning that they take specific electives and they can do specific activities in terms of their internship choices to really become kind of specialized in an area. So other things that they can do whilst they're studying, so think of, from their second until their 4th year at the university, they can do double majors, they can do minors, the track programs I just talked about. Another big opportunity here is the ability to do study abroad semesters through the Erasmus program within the European Union or outside of the European Union through our wider exchange agreements with over 300 universities. So we have very prestigious universities that we partner with in the US, in Canada, Australia, China, Japan, as well as, of course, pretty much all countries in Europe. Research is also an important opportunity in the menu, let's say, for undergrad students, that they can, if they want, they can start working as research assistants from their second semester by contacting professors. As I said, there's a lot of support to identify internships and also to participate in leadership positions in student clubs or the student council. This is, what we all get excited about, which is when the students graduate and then go on to the wider world. And what we hope is that by the time they graduate, they are people who can demonstrate the skills and the attitudes and behaviors that you see on the screen. Of course, this is, very ambitious, but we think we have been doing that when we look at our alumni trajectories, especially like Turkish students, because they are the biggest part of our alumni network around the world. They do have now, most of them are in leadership positions in international or domestic companies. There are a lot of entrepreneurs. There are a lot of people who are also in academia. So we're very proud of the outcomes of that education that we are providing to students. So now, thank you so much for listening to me, especially for those of you who may already know this because you know us for a long time. So thank you for your patience. Now we're going to talk about admissions, right? So how to become a Koç student. So first of all, just a reminder, at Turkish universities, there's only one intake per year, which is in the fall. So we do not accept undergraduate students for the spring semesters. Spring for us, fall means September, start, spring meaning February. Then our application period for all programs except medicine starts in January. So we opened the applications last week on the 1st of January, and they will close in July. This year is going to be the 1st of July. And this year we also decided to offer a late application deadline in August, and I will explain the reasons why. Okay, for medicine, we receive a very large volume of applications from international students for this program, and that's completely understandable, but it does put a lot of time requirements on the School of Medicine admissions committee. So they they requested that this year we move the application period a bit later so that they can evaluate the whole cohort, in less meetings. So instead of January to July, to do that between May and August. So that's why the medicine applications this year will start on the 1st of May and close in August. There is an application fee of approximately $20, which is paid online with the credit card. And of course, on our website, there is a lot of tutorials and guidance about each of the application requirements that I will start to mention now. In terms of the process, what happens is after the student has submitted their application in our online application system, there is a first eligibility check to make sure that they comply with the rules set up by the Higher Education Council of Turkey about where they studied their high school education, their citizenship, and their having the transcripts for the last 3 years of education. After that first check is done, then that check also means that the test scores, whether it's for SAT or A levels or IB, are checked. So if the students are below the minimum required and there's nothing else in that application that indicates high potential for academic success in university, then the candidates are sent a rejection letter. If their application is then instead sent to the admission committee, they take about 3 weeks to evaluate the candidates that are sent in that group. And then those that are offered admission, they receive an offer letter. It's an email that will state that they have been accepted either fully or on a conditional basis. And it will also state if they have been awarded a full or partial scholarship or no scholarship at all. So the next step for those students who wish to come and enroll at Koç University is to accept the offer on the online application system and pay the first semester tuition fee. After that, then they will receive a formal acceptance letter that can be used for applying for visas, for any, for example, like scholarship procedures that they may have with different organizations, and they will receive the details about how to apply for dormitories, orientation, the required documents for enrollment, and everything else. I will show you in the next slide some of the key dates for this year, but the main point to remember here is that we are a selective admissions university. We really are looking for the best students in each country, and it's holistic. So that first check is just to make sure that all students that are sent for evaluation to the committee are all above the minimum, and usually well above the minimum scores that we require. But just having very high scores in, for example, a very high SAT or very good predicted A levels doesn't mean that automatically you will be accepted. If there's kind of less than good or less than great elements in the application, whether that's the motivation letter or reference letters, then that can impact on the admission decision. So here are some of the key dates for this year. As I said, we already opened the applications except for medicine. We will open the applications for medicine then in May. There is the early application deadline of the 1st of July. So what we would like to convey to you today is that except for medicine, so always put aside medicine for a second, for all other programs, it doesn't really make any difference in terms of admission or scholarship decisions if they apply today in January, or if they apply in March, or if they apply on the 1st of July. Because we have enough quota to basically offer, places to the students that we want to bring in. What's more important is that when they do decide to submit their application, it's a complete application, that all of the required documents are there, that they have checked them carefully, that, for example, the referees have submitted their applications, that they have completed their video interview. So all of these things together should be the main consideration, rather than applying early to know early if they have been accepted or not. Okay, and I know it's hard to explain this to families sometimes, who want to know earlier if they, what are the choices that they have in front of them. But this is our advice, and we hope that, it's useful. Then we have a late application deadline, as I mentioned, on the 31st of August. So this is especially for students who may not have been able to register for some of the tests earlier, or who may be waiting for their final results if they decide not to apply with predicted, but with final results for A-levels or their IB diplomas, or for whatever reason they didn't get a chance to apply before. Then we have that period. The only downside of applying during that late application period between July and August is that they may not make it to the dormitory application days. So this is why, again, if the students that you're advising would like to, if offered admission, if they would like to stay in dormitories, then it is important that they apply before the 1st of July. But if that's not a concern and they would wish and they want to apply later once they have better test scores or anything else, then it's fine if they apply during the late application period. After that, so those that do receive an admission offer will be asked to make a decision before also the 31st of August for those who applied in the normal or early application period. Then the registration week is something that unfortunately we cannot give you an exact date from right now, because it is set by a registrar's office. I'm so sorry. Based on the calendar set by the Higher Education Council of Turkey. But typically our registration week happens in early September, and the first day of classes would typically be on the 3rd or even 4th week of September. We will provide more information about this on our website as well, and we will be updating that and letting you know once it has been updated as well. All right, so let me see how I'm doing for time. All right, so we're now getting to some of the more detailed things, and there's going to be a lot of information going forward, but again, like, we will be sending all of this to you via email, and you can watch it later. Here is a list of the application requirements. What I wanted to highlight here is what changed, right, from last year to this year. What changed is this. First of all, there's higher minimum scores for most of the eligible admission exams or diploma scores that we were accepting, and there's also new exams and international qualifications that we have started to accept, and I will show you what are they. There's a fuller list on our website that I would like you to then check after today. The English proficiency, it's another big change from last year. Until last year, providing an English proficiency test like TOEFL or Pearson was an optional application document. Now it will be a mandatory application document. What that means is that in order for the student to enroll at the university, if they have been offered admission, and if they don't have an English proficiency score when they apply, they can receive a conditional admission, but they need to bring their TOEFL or Pearson test of English before registration. IELTS, unfortunately, we are not able to accept the IELTS English test. We know other universities in Turkey do, but unfortunately we abide by the rules that we were told that we have to, and we cannot. Okay. The recommendation letters, we used to ask for 1 recommendation letter. Now we're asking for 2 recommendation letters. And finally, the video interview used to be sent as an invitation to the applicants after they submitted the application. From this year, it will be sent to them to complete that video interview whilst they're completing the application. So this is to basically avoid some of the problems we saw in previous years, that the students may miss the deadline to complete their video interview, and then this delays the whole evaluation process. So this is something that we wanted to remind you about, to always kind of keep an eye on this with your applicants, with your students, to make sure that they complete that video interview before they submit their application. Now, this, some of you are familiar with, some of you, this is the first time you may be seeing it. And of course, this is all on the website, but in terms of international standardized university admission exams, we accept SAT, ACT, and advanced placement, or AP subject exams. You can see the minimums here. For medicine, they have not really changed, but they have increased the minimums across all of our other colleges. So that's something to keep in mind. We also receive more and more, I mean, each year we're receiving more and more applicants who are applying with predicted scores in their IB or in A levels. So also there has been some slight increases in different colleges for the minimum final score, I mean, predicted scores, and in the A levels for the grades that they can receive. One thing, though, that I wanted to also take the opportunity to announce is that you can also communicate to your students is that if they are in an IB or A-level type curriculum, if they obtain the top score in grade in subjects like physics, maths, or chemistry, and biology in some cases, they can be exempted from taking those courses once they are at Koç University. So this is helpful because it will reduce the credit load that they have to take in the first and second semester. So those really, really very good students of yours who will be getting A+ or 7s in their subject grades, then great, because then they can request this once they're a Koç University student. Now, some of the new exams that we have started to accept for admission are from Russia, for example, the Unified State Exam. So you can see the minimum scores here by college. From Kazakhstan, we also have started to accept the Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools Grade 12 certificates that you can see the minimum scores here. This is interesting because this is based on the very good performance of the Nazarbayev school students that are currently at Koç University. So this has given confidence to our college dean and associate deans about, you know, the likelihood of academic success of students who are coming with this specific certificates. Also from Kazakhstan, this is not new because we started last year, but just as a reminder that students can also apply with their Unified National Test, or ENT, and you can see the minimum scores here. French Baccalaureate is something that we've always accepted, but just as a reminder. Also, in the new list of eligible tests, we have from India, the CBSE and CISCE examinations. So you can see here the minimum grades and the number of subjects that they have to show in those examinations by college. Also, we started to receive more and more candidates who had completed their high school education under the Canadian system, or the Canadian high school. So this is something that we have also started to accept. So you can see the minimum grades here. Now, in terms of English proficiency, as I mentioned, the eligible types of tests are TOEFL, Pearson Academic, Cambridge, and there is an exam that it's administered in Turkey called a YDS, or YDS. So you can see the minimum scores here. What's important is that the students need to make sure that their score reports are sent either electronically, preferably, or by mail to Koç University so that they can be verified well ahead of the registration period by our English Language Center, and so that they can be marked officially as, you know, that they can go directly into their undergraduate program courses. Now, I'll talk about tuition fees. I showed them briefly in my first part of the presentation, but for all of our programs except medicine, the annual or academic year tuition is $21,500. For medicine, it's $29,500. That tuition is paid in 2 installments. So half of it in the first semester, the fall semester, the other half in the spring semester. the tuition in Turkish lira, if you have students who also have Turkish citizenship, is announced usually the new academic year tuition is usually announced in early summer, typically after the second half of June, which is when our tuition fees for domestic students who enter through the Turkish National University entrance exam are announced. So this is why there's always a bit of delay in terms of us publishing these fees on our website, but you can see for guidance what are the current academic year tuition fees. If you have any students who have double citizenship, one of which is Turkish, or if they are, by any chance, if they are living here already. Scholarships is a topic that you mentioned that you wanted more information about. So here are the key things to know. We do offer full scholarships that are 100% and then exempt all tuition fees for 4 years. But we also have partial ones of 75%, 50%, and 25%. All applicants are evaluated automatically. So there's no separate application forms or deadlines for scholarships. They're all merit-based, so the admissions committee do not take into consideration financial need reasons for a scholarship. Of course, the applicants may provide information that they wish to disclose on their motivation letter, or the referee sometimes also provide information, but this is not considered in the decision. There's also no specific GPA or exam score, such as, this, for example, if you have an SAT of this, then you can be awarded a scholarship of that, or a GPA of X percentage, or it doesn't happen in that way. So they really look at, of course, the students who are awarded scholarships is because they are a complete package of very good grades, so very good academic performance with a combination of good extracurricular activities, very good references. So all of that combined is what determines if a student receives a scholarship and what the percentage of that scholarship is. The scholarships only cover tuition, so they do not cover dormitory accommodation or books or other living costs. So they're only as an exemption of tuition. And they do cover 4 years of study. So this is a big advantage because it means that the students do not have to be reapplying each year for financial aid or for a scholarship, as is the case in other universities. And importantly, there are no scholarships for our School of Medicine. So this is very important that you discuss with any potential applicants that you may have amongst your students who are interested in medicine, that they should very carefully decide if they want to apply or not, based on whether they can afford the tuition cost plus the living cost of our university and of living in Istanbul. Just as a reminder, we just closed a couple of days ago the applications for our winter camp. We also offer summer camps that may be of interest to students who are in high school. So we will be sending you more information in the coming weeks about the summer camps that are going to happen. Those summer camps are likely going to happen online again because of these construction works that are now happening in our dormitories. But if there's a change in that regard, we will also inform you. So just as a sum up, and I'm almost done now. These are some of the updates for this fall that I mentioned in terms of our English proficiency requirement, higher minimum scores, 2 references, video interviews. We talked about the deadlines, which are 1st of July. So please encourage your students to apply by that deadline if they want to be applying for dorms on time. Medicine applications will open on the 1st of May, so they still need to wait some months before they can start their applications. And as I said, there are some positive news in terms of dorms because we do have now a quota for our first-year international students, but there's no single rooms. Finally, TikTok is not something for people in my age group, and I don't know what age group you are in, but we do now have a KU International TikTok channel. It's being managed by 2 of our international students in collaboration with our colleague Levin, who does all of our digital marketing. So we're very proud of the content that they have created so far. One of our students is from Azerbaijan, the other one is from China, and you can see the diversity of perspectives in there as well. So please encourage your students that if they're on TikTok, they can start to get a glimpse of what the university is like from our TikTok account. And of course, we have other channels. So, those are there still for you to use. So as a summary, right, we are offering your students a great education in English with internationally renowned professors. Very importantly, we are the only university in Turkey that has a very good medical school alongside other colleges. So we're not, we're not known as a university that is very good at X or Y. We're known as a university that is very good at everything it does. We offer that in small class sizes with a very clear focus on research and in a very beautiful and safe campus. Our alumni employment and graduate school placement record is something that we're also very proud of. However, because we have only reached 10% of our students' body being international, we also have an even smaller amount of our alumni who are international. So we still don't have a lot of real substantive data to share with you on that yet, but I'm sure in the next couple of years we will. But you can start to see where they are going and what they're doing from our Career Development Center. So that's all from us for today. I want to thank you for coming today, and I want to open now the room for questions. I would kindly ask you to ask any questions you may have on the Q&A panel. If you're more familiar or prefer to use the chat function on your screen, you can do that. One final announcement is that Arina, Ahmed, and I will be traveling to different places. So we will very likely be traveling to your country and hopefully visiting you and your teams this year. We are preparing our calendar of visits at the moment. We know for sure that we're going to be visiting Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan for the first time. We're very excited about that. Kyrgyzstan as well. Arina, correct me if I'm wrong. And in the Middle East region, our colleague Ahmed will be very soon going to UAE, to Qatar, to Saudi Arabia, also for the first time for us as a university, and to Jordan. So there's other places that it takes a bit more planning that we're also hoping to go. But if you are interested in hosting us, and then we can give you more information and talk to your students, we'd be very, very happy to do that. So if there's any other questions, if there's any questions, then this is the time to ask. So either I've been very thorough or people do not have questions. So, okay, so there is one. There's a question here. Is there commission on the summer school? Yes, so in our standard agency agreement, we do include a clause about providing a commission, which is lower than for our full-time undergraduate programs. But yes, there can be a commission for the summer school programs. We can talk, if you send us an email about specific programs that you may be interested in, that you may have students who are interested in, then we can also give you more details. All right, another question. Is the English proficiency test result necessary before application? No, but it is recommended because in some cases for the admissions committee to really verify that all other elements in the application are aligned, they like to see the English proficiency results to verify that. So, however, we do have the situation where students, for example, have already registered and taken the IELTS, and then telling them that you also now need to take a TOEFL or a Pearson for Koç University we know that it can be a bit of a difficult conversation. So if they already have, for example, an IELTS test that they have a score above 6.5, they can include that in their application, but they will still receive a conditional admission, and the condition will be that they need to provide either a TOEFL or Pearson or Cambridge test before the registration process starts, so before September. Okay. There's a question, which faculties are covered or not covered by Türkiye Bursları? That's a great question. Maybe we should have included a slide about that. So the faculties, it's easier to say the ones that are not covered. So the ones that are not covered by Türkiye Bursları are law, medicine. That's it. Yeah. So law and medicine. Yes. So for all other programs, so in social sciences, administrative sciences, engineering, humanities, nursing, it's covered by Türkiye Bursları. We especially want to encourage nursing applicants because we really have a very, very good program that it's accredited by the American College of the Nursing Association in the US. So it's very easy for our graduates to continue working in Turkey or to go abroad, especially to the US, to continue their studies or work. And yet we don't see many applications for that program. And that is also covered by Türkiye Bursları. So it's a great opportunity. There's a question here. A school was in the blacklist by Turkish government before the school was acquired by other owners. Can students still apply? Yeah, that's a very good question. We would need to check with our registrar's office if it's possible or not, because it's a question that we then need to send to the Higher Education Council of Turkey. And once they give an official yes or no, we can then reply, because we did have a list. And then that list may have changed, and our registrar's office are the ones who are keeping track of that. But if you please send us an email to study@ku.edu.tr, which you see on the screen, with the specific school name, we can check with our registrars, and then we will get back to you. We may not get back to you immediately in like a couple of days, because it may take also some time to get an answer from the Higher Education Council of Turkey, but we will do our best to answer quickly. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so I don't see any other questions. If those are all the questions, then again, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a great weekend ahead, that you get a chance to rest from your very, very busy work that you have at your agencies and with your teams and your students. And we look forward to keeping in touch with you via email, phone, Zoom. We're always kind of available to be reached if you have any questions. So with that, I want to thank you finally. And with that, we will say goodbye and close today's session. Thank you. Bye-bye.